Hello, my name is Jackson Berliner, and I'm here to introduce the topic for our group. We're talking about from Chapter 2, the machine metaphor, and more importantly, the theories of Fayol, Weber, and Taylor, and how they relate to that metaphor. First, I just want to explain the machine metaphor real fast. Metaphor basically just being explaining one thing by using an example of something else. So for the machine metaphor for companies, organizations, and so on, if the company was a machine, then the employees and the people that work within that machine would be the cogs that help that machine work, produce whatever that machine is meant to produce, do whatever it's supposed to do, and the managers and the upper management would then be in charge to make sure that machine runs as efficiently as possible. This was coined during the Industrial Revolution. Obviously, people's minds were on machines back then, especially people who were investing in businesses, so it's not a surprise that that's when that would have been picked up. And then the four staples of this metaphor are going to be specialization, standardization, replaceability, predictability, basically all the things that you would want in a machine to work efficiently, and if something were to break and you'd want to know exactly how to fix it, so on and so forth, that's exactly what you would want. So first, Henry Fayol, also known as the father of modern operational management. He was a French industrialist. He was alive from the late 18th century to the early 19th century, so his ideas are not new ideas, hence the theory of classical management. And then there's the elements of management and the principles of management, and the main difference between those is the elements of management are going to be much more related to, like, what does the manager have to do to see the most efficient employees, you know what I mean, or to produce the most efficiency out of his employees. And then the principles of management are going to have to do a lot more with the organization of the company and more of the interactions and the basically duties of the employees themselves and not the managers and upper management. So for the elements of management, there's a quote I took from the book on page 19, The What of Managerial Work, basically saying, like I stated earlier, this is going to be how the managers are going to make the most efficient machine, if you will. So first, planning. Obviously, if you're working in a business, you're not just doing things willy-nilly. There's steps to a process, and that process should always lead to the same result. Secondly, organizing. That leads right back to the process, but that's also making sure that employees, the division of labor is being taken out efficiently and people are working in their designated areas and that these areas are coexisting correctly. Command, that's going to help you obviously when it comes to the organizing and planning, because you need people to listen to you and make sure that they are staying attentive to the plan and not going off course, and that way there isn't a waste of efficiency. Coordination and control. So with the coordination and obviously, like I said, you want people in their specific area and you want to make sure those areas are all working and coexisting together, and that one area isn't necessarily tampering another area's proficiency. And then the control, as a manager, you obviously have to have control of the situation. People can't just be doing whatever they want, and that's the only way that the plan is going to get stuck to, is if there's one person, one or two at least, making sure that all this work is getting done and as efficiently as possible. So for the principles, there was a lot of them, but I picked the four that I thought really were important to the theory. The scalar chain, that's just top-down hierarchy that classically that you would see in the military. There's one guy and he's ahead of another guy, ahead of another guy, ahead of another guy. Unity of direction, basically what that's going to be is, so let's say we got a chain and each person's ahead of the next person. Somebody 3 people up shouldn't be talking to somebody 3 people below. Communication should always go directly below until obviously it hits the bottom. And then division of labor, I've been mentioning that a couple times. That's just basically, this person does this person does that. A lot of times it has to do with a specialty or specialization, like we had mentioned earlier, and with the metaphor. This just basically makes sure that one person is working as efficiently as possible, and then when it gets to the next station, that those people are also working as efficiently as possible, and that there really isn't as much intermingling or confusion of tasks. And then span of control, that has to kind of ties back into the managers in the sense of one manager can only deal with so many people, and it should be with people that are all kind of in the same related field, in the same way that one teacher wouldn't teach multiple classes with hundreds of kids, per class. It's a set number of kids, a set curriculum, so there's some type of control. And then lastly, just real quick to tie back into our class stuff, organizational culture. The classical management theory is definitely not focused on the interpersonal. It's very just work efficiency, not really focused on the emotions or wants or needs of the employee. It's more about the organization as a whole. However, employees under this model theoretically would be rewarded appropriately to their efforts, and as well as not overworking them. And then lastly, organization over the individual. Like I had said, it's all about the company, it's all about the machine. You don't worry about the cogs. Like I said, everything should be replaceable. So everything is organization over employee. Thank you very much, and I'm going to pass it on to Ian to talk to you guys about Max Weber's theory. Thank you.